1756. We're under attack. Impossible. The walls are cracking, you fool. Zulz wanted nothing more than to consume the idiot he'd been put on watch with, but clearly this wasn't the time to indulge in a fortifying snack. He had no idea what was occupying the scouts so much that they hadn't bothered to report an assault approaching the slime ground, but he hoped they were dead for it. Wait here and see if you can see what's happening, he snapped to his moronic associate. I'll go and report to Sleuthsis. But, as Zulz went to turn, he realized his counterpart was already a dozen meters up the tunnel. I'll do it, he called back as he vanished into the darkness. Zulz cursed and spat hot, boiling acid onto the nearby rock. Smart enough when he wants to be, he gurgled furiously. Now he was certain, when he got back to the slime ground, he was going to eat that fool, and he didn't care if he got reprimanded for it. Once more the walls shook, threatening to dislodge Zulz from his position. He tightened the grip of his foot on the wall and tried to assess. Something rather large was ripping through the stone, and probably bashing into it to help loosen it. Could it be a random monster from the tunnels? If they caught a whiff of the craft, some monsters would try to break into a slime ground to try and feast on the slugs within. However, such creatures were usually diverted long before they came close to a craft settlement. It was unthinkable that the scouts would be so lax in their duties they would endanger their safe haven from the tunnels. Had the ants invaded and destroyed the scouts? All of them? That didn't make sense either. Fangs clenched, anger boiling away inside him, Zulz decided he had no choice but to investigate. Staying put could put him in danger, while reporting back to the Chrysalis without anything to say was a certain death sentence. An experienced slug, he took the proper precautions, flattening out his body and camouflaging his skin, shrinking in and disguising the mana he contained. Only when he was certain he was completely hidden did the slug begin to descend the entrance to the slime ground. A winding passage designed to trap even the slightest trace of scent escaping, the entrance was designed to prevent exactly this sort of thing from happening. Zulz had to be careful, since the rock around him began to crack and break faster and faster the farther he traveled. Unauthorized duplication. This tail has been taken without consent. Report sightings. Finally, a section just below him fell away, revealing the extent of the damage. Whatever was doing this, it had reached halfway to the slime ground already. Something monstrously large reached up, horrific jaws scything through the rock with contemptuous ease mere meters in front of Zulz's face. Resisting the urge to exclaim in shock, he backed up the passage rapidly, trying to get a better look at whatever this was. A monster of some sort, obviously, but what? It didn't look like anything he'd ever seen before, but that didn't make sense. He knew every monster that inhabited these tunnels. Was this an invader from a lower stratum? Surely not, there wasn't a wave. Again, the jaws cut through the stone, snapping through it as though it were soft fungus, forcing Zulz back. Then there was a pause. Concerned, he retreated a little further. Just in time, a colossal figure flashed into view and slammed against the wall with incredible force. The vibrations were so strong he was almost knocked straight off the wall, only holding his grip by a hair. The culprit was only in view for a brief moment, but that was enough for Zulz to identify the invader. An ant, not just any ant, the biggest ant he had ever seen. Having what he needed, the Krath wasted no time turning around and retreating as fast as he possibly could. An ant assault? Here, it didn't make any sense. How were they surviving inside the fifth, so far from their cursed blue mana? Pushing his foot to its limits, he raced as fast as he could through the winding, narrow passage, little more than a crack, until he reached the slime ground. A force had already been gathered, and the Chrysalis, Suzel, was waiting at their head. A massive female with a short temper, even for a Krath, she wasn't the type Zulz wanted to deliver bad news to, but he didn't have much of a choice. It's the ants, he gurgled after he squeezed through the entrance and unflattened himself. A giant ant is ripping through the entrance. It knows we're here. That shouldn't be possible, Suzel spat, her eyes narrowing atop their stalks as she considered Zulz, trying to recover on the ground. Did you see it for yourself? He knew he was right to trust his instincts. I did, he confirmed. A giant ant, enormous, possibly tier 7 or 8, cutting through the rock and smashing its way towards us. Just one might be enough, he said, then immediately regretted it when the Chrysalis glared at him, her rage igniting. Do you believe we can't defeat a single ant? She ground out, her skin beginning to bubble and hiss as her acid began to boil. Oh, of course we can, Zulz assured her, how could we not? But there may be more, I only saw the one. This may have been a newly established outpost, but it was filled with warriors. So far they'd been successful in preventing the ants' attempts to spread their territory and had launched frequent raids towards the occupied tunnels. It wasn't unreasonable for the Chrysalis to have confidence. She watched him for a long moment, but the growing vibrations told of just how close the ant was getting. "Prepare to defend the slime ground," she snapped.